decades of experience in technology, consulting, community building, and open source advocacy. He is deeply passionate about empowering individuals and organizations to thrive in the digital age. As the founder of Afrost and co-founder of PY Delhi, he has been instrumental in building and leading high-impact tech communities, while also organizing marquee events like PyCon India, and they have supported the growth of India's open source ecosystem. Please join me welcoming our keynote speaker, Mr. Satyakam Goswami.
Hello. Can you hear me? In the end, the guys, the one who is sleeping. Okay, I was just joking. Okay. So, hope you had your full of breakfast and everything. And I'm going to get started. Before I get started, I see most of the students here and few faculty members and few guests from SUSE community. Okay. So today I'm going to talk about my journey, basically, which has been mostly with the open source world, where it came about. Uh-oh. I can go full mode now. Yeah. So mostly I've been living a life of like in the world where there were computers, just starting with the punch cards and things like that. And I'm going to talk about all of it. And also, while doing all that, we were doing our own journey in the time frame of, building the communities. And we never realized that, while we were doing that. And also, how did it impact us all, in the way, and also it's going to give you an insight into what it takes and how it happens to be, going forward. So my open source journey, basically, I think, let me copy it because I cannot be looking up and back. So yeah, this is much better now. Yeah, hope everyone can see that. So the open source journey is a long story. As they say, the people who cannot make history, who forget to read, they cannot make history, who forget to know history or read about history. And when I say this, I say with humbleness, and I'm really grateful to all the people around me. And most of the people were, all very educated, very well educated, and they were in the fields of IET, IEEEs, and things like that. And if you know this gentleman, why I put his face right there is one big reason is he's a big SUSE fan. And this guy, when I'm going to tell you the story, the story which I'm going to share today are anecdotes, personal stories, because that, I think, is very important part of the culture. Learning is there, definitely, but the learning, when it happens through this kind of environment in ecosystem, we tend to, keep it for life, make friends for life, actually. And yeah, sure, no issues. I don't mind. Yeah, yeah. So this guy, right there, before I start my things, I just wanted to, I had a conversation with him yesterday. And he's like old man, PhD, doctor, and everything, and he's so happy. Oh, other way around, okay. Yeah. So the question I always get is, why do I do it? Why do we do it? Why? Why is the big question? What are the motivations? why, like all in the world, why did you get into this or something like this, which you give it away for free, and you go out of the way, like, and this person, before I start that, let me tell you my own personal journey, I'm going to talk a lot about Dr. Partha. He's, by the way, Dr. Partha. I don't know ever anyone known him, I don't think so. So my journey started with, there was a PC Quest magazine, okay? And this magazine, if you see I've taken the picture in the right side, you see, that's exactly the CD, I still remember the day, where CDs were just coming in, and they were really costly, okay? And the access to CDs and computers was very difficult. Why am I sharing this with all the young people is because, remember this, you have to got to know the history and where we are coming from and where do we want to go. And that's what exactly I'm going to talk about today. And in the process, we were doing a lot of things in the terms of building communities, human-to-human connects, networks, huge networks, actually. And we never planned for it, actually, like we never say, okay, we will do this as a corporate world, and we were just doing it. So this CD, I still remember, it was my first distribution was Slackware, and I remember those days where you really bust your bootloader, and you format your hard disk and multiple times to get it up and running, the command line interface. And after that, the biggest one of the hurdles was getting to make the X run. There were two or three things which I very clearly I remember was the X running, making the X server run, and the graphics card configuring graphics card with your proper device drivers, And second was, I think the Ethernet card. Yes, Ethernet card was one of the biggest. So we never had this luxury of internet for everyone and all that, and because I come from that era where UNet and TCP/IP was just taking off, World Wide Web was there, but we used to carry all this kind of distributions before this in floppies. We used to call it snickernet, just put it in the pocket and share it with your friends to install Linux, actually. And then came internet, and we got so happy, so happy because we got access to the world, and access in a way which you used to read in the books in the form of BBS, bulletin board services, and sometimes, archives of something which gets printed sometime, like how I got access to this PC Quest, So moving forward, one of the clear memories I have is, I don't know how many of you know, if you see the pictures, old people in the room, all of them know it well, but younger generation, please be reminded all again and again that today what we are doing, which we take it for granted, like the on-demand net and everything did not just happen overnight, And we were living in a very chaotic world, like the internet was coming in, and Linux was already there, and in 95, 96, we were still struggling with installing, And that's with the point in time, one of the guys gets up, and says that, I want to, I don't know how to do this, can somebody help me, right? And that is where we started meeting each other, And if you remember the old days, mailing list was there, yes, it was very much there, but the thing which really drove us was something known as Yahoo groups. That's where I remember my first user group we started in Hyderabad, which was known as Linux User Group of Hyderabad. And this group had its own ups and downs in the form of, like, it went on very big. And we used to read all these news articles from Deja.com. Deja was Deja News, Deja is something which was like in the form of, what do you call, today's Google groups, It was taken over by this company. And our go-to places were the Linux documentation project, man pages, Slashdot, uh, the, the go-to source for all the things to download and use were SourceForge. I think SourceForge is still alive, but in a very different form. It is not the same thing what it used to be. It got so commercialized and with full of ads and all that. I think world has moved on to GitHubs of the world, you know. Now nobody uses, but still I find some remnants and pieces of libraries, softwares, now and then, which we hit upon, you know. And one of the things very early on we learned online was because the bandwidth was so costly, we used to say that, I think a lot of students here are also there, this piece of advice will be very, very helpful. Like when you are working on your projects, and let's say even in class also, you know, especially the computer science students, which I'm familiar with, ki, sir, this thing is not working. How does that help anyone, right? And because we were living in a days where IRC was there, but to ask and question, you know, we were on really low bandwidths, you know, 9,600 bauds or 2,800, then slowly it keeps on, and dial-up modems and all. So we were really conscious about how to ask questions, you know, and in fact, today also, it is still valid. If you go and read this how to, you know, everyone note this down. It is part of my curriculum. I teach this thing first to everyone, how to ask questions the smart way. You know, it is so valid today, in today's world also, with even with LLMs, GPTs and everything, because that's exactly what you do. You know, if you don't know how to ask a question or tell them to do that, it is going to behave like a small child, and you will be lost, I'm telling you. This tool looks very good when you use it, and believe me or not, they hallucinate in a big way. So this skill is so useful in today's world also. Please do read that. It's a very good, you know, and again, all these authors, I had the luxury of spending time with them. Again, I'm grateful to them and interacting with them and learning about how did he come with the idea of writing a document, even to write how to ask questions, see? So those were the days. So moving forward, everyone knows most of these logos out there. And all this while, in 90s and so on and so forth, I never knew what Free Software Foundation was. Believe me or not. I never knew. But we were doing things. So what I say in my teachings and when I go for teaching or guest lectures, especially in the technical classes, is ki you learn the skill first, the philosophy will come later. You have to break the things to make it happen. So I have been part of this movement known as Free Software Foundation, thanks to Mr. Richard Stallman. The kind of freedoms he has given us has been liberating, And I've been very famous for arguing with him on mailing list, for his radical views. And I also had the luxury of bringing him into India for the first time. I spent 4 days, and people were shocked. How did you survive with this guy? I said, look, it's okay. I'm a human person. I know people person, right? Technology is also there, but more I like the human part of it, because what I say is humans are difficult to manage than machines, because when I worked moving forward in the huge data centers and Linux farms and clusters and so on and so forth, we realized that always the point which used to break was humans, if you think about security today, one of the first culprits in the security domain, if you ask, who could break in or something happens, like humans are the very, very important part of it. They can be socially engineered, and that's what is happening to using, I call it the reverse engineering side of AI, the chat GPTs are manipulating us, or they're taking us our data and playing around. Anyway, let's move on. I don't want to diverge. So the other piece of it was Eric Raymond. He is very famously known as ESR. And this book is very, very important, part of history as well as education, to, if you really want to understand how and what of open source, and why, how do people like make a living out of it, right? So this book is very, very important. So coming back to India, we were in India, and while we were learning about all these happenings, Free Software Foundation was very confusing, because the word free means many things to many people, Free means, in India at least, when we say that free is like at zero cost. But nobody understood the concept of freedom, including me, It was very late in my career, I understood the ideas, and when I spent time with this gentleman, Richard Stallman, and that's where we got, and those were the foundations of what we see today. It did not happen in isolation, whatever we see today, all the libraries were written, the kernel was written, right? 92, 93, Linus put in the kernel together, right? So all this thanks to all these great people, on whose shoulder we are today using their tools, tools like, I remember even for writing your research paper, LaTeX and tech, right? You use that, right? But there is a community out there right now in India also. I don't know how many people know about it, So this group came up, this which is known as Linux User Group Bangalore. This was one of the first user groups in India. I'm talking about, it's going to get exciting, just be there with me, The boring part is going to get over very soon. So Linux User Group Bangalore was one of the groups which came online. We had mailing list. We were started interacting and having regular meetups, and people were going and meeting and all that. And then also we created our own user group in Hyderabad, known as Linux User Group of Hyderabad, which was again due to necessity than, curiosity and necessity, and to learn something and solve our problems, We call it the H, the programmer's H, or, the hacker's H. You call it whatever you want to, And then in Bangalore, this event happened, which was known as Linux Bangalore first, then it was known as first.in, the logo you see in below. Well, all this was happening, there was we started grouping together in something known as Linux India, and the meta community place where mailing lists were buzzing around here and there, and we were started interacting with each other and forming these local user groups, and you call it, And while doing all that, we were also started to, think beyond what we were doing online, and solving our own day-to-day issues using programming languages that, how many of you still use Perl here? Anyone uses Perl? Good. So, I had my own time with Perl and shell scripts still, so all that was happening. There were few Perl user groups, few Linux user groups, but whenever you see, all of them used to be together. Like, it was never like, this is guy, somebody who I cannot share with him, I cannot talk. We were all connected, and still we are. So one of the things which I wanted to cover was, when I moved down from Hyderabad to Delhi, it's almost now 22 years, I never felt out of home, because of the community, When I came in first year, I was a stranger without a job, with a small kid, but it was a brave new world, right? Because we wanted to do something for the country and take open source to the next level. We were just going in the trenches. We were doing things. We were doing so many projects, like one of the projects which I clearly remember. Okay, by the way, who knows this picture? Anyone knows this guy on the right? Okay. I presume we will not. So this guy is one of the guys who formed a community known as Ind Linux. This is one of the projects which I have contributed. This was an effort to make Linux in the localized languages, right? because everyone speaks, like German guys use in Linux in German, Japanese use in their own languages, Chinese were using in there. So somebody says, okay, I want to use in Hindi, English, Telugu, and all that. What do we do? What do we do? So this community was formed, a very successful project, and this project, and he is the guy. He is the master of. Today he works for some company somewhere, doing all Unicode and internationalization and localization projects. And the project in Linux was formed. And what happened to the people from there? They were all absorbed into Red Hat. Everyone got into Red Hat. It went upstream, all the localization work, the team, everyone moved on. And today, I'm telling you, still those localization efforts which has happened at that time are still there in all the distros. Most of the distros today you see, they are still there. The other project which I wanted to mention was the OpenStreetMap project. So again, this project for me was again an accident. Google Maps was not there. I wanted to do my own thing of something to do with routing and all that. So what do we do? Like, where is the data, right? So I started digging for it. No data, nothing. So, but I found there is data in OpenStreetMap. There are people who are taking their GPS devices, tracing them. So I became part of that community slowly. And we started building up projects and all that. So one of the very successful projects out of this initiative was bus routes from Chennai. Actually, people like you, students who made it happen. And all those projects are still there on the GitHub live. I'll share all that with you in a while. So that community led me to one more community known as Data Meet. So when I was trying to dig this data, I came to learn about the concept of open data. And that was only possible in very late stages of my life in the form of Data Meet. Okay. So all this was not something like we were doing for the sake of doing, but there was definitely something like a dream, I want to achieve this, and which was only possible with off-the-shelf open source softwares which were already there, with no restrictions at all. And we were building all the lugs, and we were organizing. So this picture is from one of the early, I would say, Meerut College. Even the whole of the NCR we were covering, going around. Kabhi Punjab पहुंच जाते थे, कभी दिल्ली, कभी everywhere. Our whole weekends were gone, just doing the advocacy part of it. And again, there is one more gentleman in this picture. I would like to acknowledge his contributions. This guy is a generalist who lives in Goa. And he has been such a prevalent follower of FOSS and has documented so much. I don't think anybody has done that. He like what true generalists do for the FOSS community. He is Frederick Narona, and I'm going to talk about him in a while. So how do I go back? 1 second. Okay. Oh, okay. So this was the old PCQuest magazines from which I have taken up these pictures, the old modems and all that. Internet relay chats. How many of you read RFCs? Oh. What is RFC 9000? I'm just joking, okay? So RFC 9000 is one of the very good things which is coming up. People do have a look at it, and maybe you can do some contributions in that. It's the quick protocol. I'm very excited about it, and trying to play around with it and see what is happening in this field, because we all know from long कि UDP is like stateless. Still, we use it, right? Like even in peer-to-peer, in even Web3 form of like things. So I'm really excited, and I think it's going to be part of the Linux kernel also. I don't know, it's still, is it there or still the conversation is going on? Anyone keeps a tab on this? What's happening? No, nobody is keeping tab. Okay. So this is a good idea, if you are interested in low-level Linux kernel side of things, start reading RFCs, and especially the things which are happening now. And the good thing about, again, this community, I'll call it the Internet Engineering, IETF, is it's not like you cannot ask questions there. You can be part of it because you have all the time in the world, right? Like right now, you have no things to worry about in the life, and you have everything taken care by your parents and everyone. So please do read that and start contributing and start actually interacting, asking questions, sending out to them, and all that. So I just wanted to show this. I think, yes, this is Dr. Partha's website. Very good. And how he got it started in the Linux journey, how he got his book. His book, the Linux book was given to him by one Mr. Thats, from Netscape actually. And again, and he's been getting interviewed by Frederick Narona because, see, again, we are going to lose all this, Already we have lost a lot of things, And thanks to this project, Internet Archive, how many of you use this Wayback Machine? Okay, I see only few hands. But you start using it. It's a beautiful project, again, open source. And it can be used for multiple purposes, your research, your websites which are dead. Like today, we were so naive, we never took or kept those mails also, right? So it's gone. That's it. So it's a very good project. Please start using it in your day-to-day life. I think this is, I've already showed. Okay, this is Partha again. I just wanted to show you that page where he has put SUSE off top front. Yes, this is the logo. So he writes, I'm addicted. So I myself have lived that life, being a radical kind of a person. But over the years, when you grow and you start interacting more socially, and so you understand, you can be radical in a lot of ways, but being radical does not mean that you go and walk over other people's shoes. Like this is the argument which I made with RMS. Is the argument was on the mailing list, in Calcutta mailing list. He says, don't touch Windows. I said, what? Why? I'm using an open source project, perfectly GPL'd software. According to you, this is good. And I'm solving a humanities problem that is very close to my heart, right? So why do you want to take my freedom, right? My choice. That's not, I respect you, but. So that is one of the projects. It is a very good project. Time? Okay, yeah. So that project was NVIDIA. I don't know how many people know about it. OCR, like the software which reads screen readers for blind people. Not everyone has Linux, but I said, okay, I'm ready to live with it because it's solving that people's problem right there. It is GPL'd. It is one which can be used in day-to-day activities. So, okay, he writes all that. He's a really fanatic guy. Partha, again, I love him and hate him also sometimes, but it's okay. That's how people are, right? And he's the guy who also contributed to POSIX standards. He was the only person from India. Yeah. So you will learn more about him as you go along. So I did not want to mention this because we are running short of time. General Magic, how the interfaces evolved. General Magic, it's one company which I don't know many people know about it. How they designed this thing called. So again, this I wanted to share, but we are running short of time. This is one project, we called it FOSS Yatra. One guy from Nehru Place, he lost his shop, lost everything. And he got nothing to do, but he was a great salesman. We sent him on a journey to go everywhere and evangelize about Linux and open source. So he did great work. So you can see his documentation right from 2011 till date, with all the contacts, everything. So let me move on. How much time do we have? Hello? Time. How much time do we have?
So we only have 2 minutes. I'm very sorry, we're running on a crunch.
Okay. So I just want to very quickly cover up the things, the kind of communities we have formed. And we created a lot of communities, as already been spoken about. And there were some great people again. And these are the two very iconic pictures, In this picture, you will find one person from open source community right there who has made big companies, And this picture on the right was taken in Chennai, in IIT, Anna University. And this guy was just listening the way today you are listening. And they formed a company, And that is right from here in Faridabad, Haryana, Badkal Chowk. I can tell you many stories of all this, but we are running short of time. This guy is also the founder of Gluster. I have the luxury of living with all these guys, interacting fervently, discussing their ideas, listening to them all the time, arguing with them. Hey, no, this is not, like, these are all business, they have nowhere to go, right? Talk to who? Nobody understands them. They're not their family, not their, because they are way ahead of their time, as entrepreneurs or whatever they do. So the broader impact which I wanted to talk, I think this is the gist of this today's story. And while we were doing all these open source projects, they impacted in a big way towards building what we are talking about today. We have been always talking about this. It is good for the country. Why don't you take these projects, use it in the government sector, and rely on that? So most of this project today, you see, I've been also associated with many of them. Even the cloud, which you see today, is based on OpenStack. Yeah, for the government. So I'll just move on very fast. So the big question is, what is there for us? We the people who are going to lead into the next decade or 2 or 3. So space is the new frontier, that's what I call it. Teslas or SpaceX, they are doing good, but open source is there still, everywhere. Remember that. All these successes is not just built on isolation. Go for it. There are lots of social issues today still need to be solved. Like we still don't know the data, how many childbirths are happening, how are they getting fed well. All this has to be solved, big data issues. Electronics, hardware, open hardware and electronics. We are way far behind. GPU farms, why do we need that? Because we need to go forward and do our own models which are suitable for country as well as others. It doesn't matter, don't try to be the number one, doesn't help. So we are already lost in that race because of certain reasons. I can go on and on that portal. So there's nothing like winner will take it all. AI and ML is definitely the buzzword, but it did not happen overnight. It happened with lots of small dictionaries were made, NLP researchers were there, and now we have landed where we are. So be very inclusive. And this is one quote I wanted to end my talk with. This is one community where I contributed again. I was the only committer from India, and this was one ERP software. And again, in that project also I landed very, very accidentally. And this guy wrote, he was a farmer back there in Vietnam and Thailand, right? He used to be a farmer who created the software by the name Adam Pierre. How many of you know? I think people from Germany. Yes, Germany. And he said, I want to challenge the SAPs of this world and all that. We never thought he can do that, but he did it. And this is something which he says in his quote, and I would like to quote, and listen to this, very important. Information is free. everyone knows it, right? Like, but you have to know it, you have to go and dig for it, right? People are not, you have to pay. And again, this was in context of open source developers, okay? And the third point is very, very important. If you want to contribute, you have to do it. You just can't talk about it. You have to take that extra step, maybe a small documentation, 2 lines on Wikipedia. I don't know why people don't go and correct Wikipedia pages also. That's also a great contribution. Contribution to documentation, things like that. And when people like Linus Torvalds writes, show me the code and all that, don't take it in a negative way, because the context was very different what he said, right? So programming is not the only way you can contribute. And when you do that, you become priceless, in the sense of you can do great things and do whatever you want to do in your life. Yeah, thank you. That's all I have to say. And I'm there. I'm there around. You can interact, and if you need any help with related to you, anything going on, chattering in your mind, want to get it clarified or cleared, I'm there to talk and listen about it. It can be technical, non-technical, yeah, okay? And second thing is, yeah, that's all. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for having us. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before we start, I have to have a small thing. Sir, please come up on stage. Please come up on stage, sir. How many of you are Marvel fans over here? How many of you are Marvel fans? Yeah. So there's this small saying of Stan Lee. You guys know Stan Lee, right? Yeah. So there's a small saying of Stan Lee that I really believe in, and it represents what sir said in a small few words. That is, if you have an idea that you truly think is good, don't let an idiot talk you out of it. Do you guys agree with me or not, sir? Do you guys agree with me? 100%. You should have that motivation. You should have that strength to make sure whatever you see for yourself, make it come true. Don't give up in midway. Thank you, sir, for having us. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, I would like to call upon Dr. Mamta Dhaiya to honor Sir's remarkable contribution and presence with us today. Now, I take the privilege to invite our esteemed guest, Mr. Douglas DeMaio, Project Manager of openSUSE. He has been a driving force behind the openSUSE community, actively contributing to his global outreach, collaboration, and development. With the vision and commitment, openSUSE has grown it into the one of most respected open source communities worldwide. Sir, we are truly honored to have you with us today. May I kindly request you to address the gathering with your keynote speaking.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's not so often I get to be a keynote speaker, and for this topic, it's like extra special, right? So I'm here to talk about openSUSE turning 20. It's been it was at the beginning of this month that openSUSE turned 20, and so I'm kind of going to go over the history about it and just kind of show how it's developed over the years. So the impact of the community and what the road ahead, that's kind of some aspects that I'll cover, but mostly like looking in the past, right? So a little bit about me. I'm a manager for the openSUSE project. I would kind of say or think of me as a node. I touch various aspects of the community in different areas across the globe, and so I'm sort of a contact person for a lot of the things that the project does. I also run the openSUSE conference, so if you're interested in that, please continue to look at events.opensuse.org. I also interact with a lot of other projects in the open source community. So, one of the things that I want to thank Satya, can't say the previous keynote speaker. He went over some things that I won't have to cover, which is good. So looking at this, right, like when the openSUSE project started, Linus Torvalds was 35, right? So this is a while back. I'm going to give some of this, some of these points some context here for age. So YouTube was founded. It doesn't seem that long ago, but I think for some of the people in the room, it is, right? So, you know, but that over time, I'm sure things will become, what do they say? Like your view of time changes as you get older, right? So things happen more quickly. So it wasn't that long ago. Star Wars kind of finished episode 3, so that kind of like completed the loop, at least for me, because I saw Star Wars in the movie theater. So this was kind of a special moment for me. But the project originally came from Novell, and so openSUSE itself is its main sponsor is SUSE, and so SUSE started out as a company in 1992, a little bit after Linus had introduced the kernel, and SUSE as a company started out as translating. So over the years, they kind of developed into more of the software development aspect of it, and they were purchased by Novell. So Novell announced the openSUSE project in 2005, and this was done in Linux World San Francisco at the time. If you look back, I mean, it was shortly after the dot-com bubble. This was sort of an area where, you know, where a lot of people were going, where is this going to go? And so Red Hat had announced Fedora. Those of you who are very involved in open source projects will know Fedora. We have a good partnership with them as well. But they were announced, and then Novell announced that openSUSE would be a project as well. So it was released under SUSE 10.0 beta around that time. And then the community kind of grew from there. Now, one of the key points of the openSUSE project is what's called the openSUSE build service. This onboarded a lot of people into the project, and people in open source in general. It also brought a lot of people in. So that was a very important aspect. Also mentioned was the Google Summer of Code. The project has been participating in the Google Summer of Code since the founding of the Google Summer of Code in 2006, right? I mean, we've had a couple years where we haven't, but we've over the years, I mean, we've had participated at least 20 of them. So And that's done through community efforts, mentors just like being a part of the project, trying to introduce or educate some people, or just bring them in. And we even have a couple of students here that have been a part of the openSUSE project as an organization to be mentors and mentees. Again, Twitter was also started around that time, and Zipper is the package manager, and that was introduced as well. And I think, like, we've always had a tradition of like certain announcements being 42. I want to say Zipper was also like announced. I think it was version 0.2 or 0.4.2, I believe. And there's going to be talk here as well about Zipper, so a little bit later. Some interesting things about the project. The name ends up being a very long thing, because, depending where you go, some people will call it openSUSE, SUSE, openSUSE, yeah. There's a lot of different names that are out there. And then the logo is also another one, right? So like you had it's always lowercase, open, and then uppercase SUSE, but that logo from 2005, somehow you still see it occasionally. And you still also see some spellings where you'll see SUSE with a lowercase u, and it has a long history. But anyway, we changed the logo back in 2007, and then perhaps we'll be changing it in the future. We don't know, but I'll get into some of the other things that we've changed along the way. So, that slide didn't turn out too well. Anyway, the next process was kind of working down the governance model, like how is this project going to move forward? So governance aspect was vital and pretty important. So that was announced in 2007, and so that consists of we have 5 board members, 1 chair. The chair is appointed by SUSE, and you can't have more than two people on the board from the same company. But this is kind of done so to like drive the project forward. We don't want to have too many influences, right? To overwhelm. Again, changed the logo in 2007. Hack Week also started off in 2007. That was a very vital thing, because it allowed for people to like work on the projects that they want, and just kind of like collaborate and effectively change. That's where your innovation comes from. openSUSE Education was also a release. Lars used to do that. His wife was a teacher, and he kind of like covered that. And it was good. That no longer really exists, but a lot of packages are out there. And even now, there's even projects called like JCapri, which is a really good one for education. And that's done by a couple in France I got to meet some years back. And then I put the one-click install as an option. This has a historical funny value within the project, because it never was quite one click, but we tried. So moving on, we get into 2008, and that's kind of like, well, SE Linux was established back then. I mean, you see how long that's taken to move forward. At least to kind of like even become default. Just recently we had it in openSUSE being announced the default. And this was also when like openSUSE itself kind of took on the name of release, but like the 11.1 was the first evergreen, and that kind of like, I guess announcing that, it kind of like puts us where we are today. I mean, we have over 90 months for certain releases. And so LEAP is one of those things, but 72 months with support, and that was done through community support. This is a community-driven thing. I mean, again, SUSE sponsors the company, sponsors the project, but this was something that was community-driven and community supported, right? So moving on to the next few years, I'd like to say, like, yeah, it was where the innovation kind of took place. I mean, it's taken place over the years, but like this was a very key point, because this, and Sunny, who was one of the people that actually started the openSUSE.Asia Summit, kind of went over this, that these years were kind of like very important for the project to come together and discuss what's the path forward, right? And looking at this picture here, this was the first openSUSE conference, and a lot of these people are much more gray or less hair, like myself. So, first openSUSE conference in Nuremberg. We also have the ambassador program. It still goes on, but it's not really like formalized so much. But basically, anyone in the community that wants to go out and advocate for the project and advocate open source and technology development, get out there and support that through the ambassador program. It still exists again, and you know, people only are acknowledged, or people only know certain things based on exposure, right? So that is a very key thing. And I encourage each one of you in the audience, you know, as you move through the years, like just kind of help out where you can, right? This is one of those things where you're all getting exposed to different aspects of technology based on people that are involved in the community that are driving it forward, right? Yeah. So the wiki kind of began. That's been around for a long time, and we support Wikimedia and their development as well. Connect was a former project that kind of allowed all the community to identify like memberships and things like that. So you can be a member of the openSUSE project. You just have to show your contributions, and you can apply for it. Now, there are some aspects that come along with being a member of the openSUSE community, and voting on the board is actually one of those things, you know. But there are some other ones, so I want to make that a key point so that you would know that you can become a part of the openSUSE project. And we've definitely encouraged a lot more people in Asia to like run for the board, because they need that representation there. We do have currently Ish, he's from Mauritius, and we have one Australian on there, but like, you know, we've been trying to push it so that it becomes a little bit more global representation, and hopefully we get someone from South America run again. So we also, during this time of innovation, we'll call it Open Auto Instruct, or sorry, OS Auto Instruct. This is kind of what has become OpenQA, but this is kind of like was established during a Hack Week project. And of course, we had fun with, you know, especially people like this, Andy. He's been a part of the project for a long time, and he's involved with ARM. And you know, it's just a lot of enjoyment. And of course we like the little plushies, and we like the little chameleons, right? So going forward, the next year, Tumbleweed has a long history, and it started out with a kernel developer, Greg K.H., right? And he kind of, at the time, he had worked for SUSE. There was a Hack Week project, and he said, you know, let me see if I can make like some distribution where I can test the kernel. And it caught on, and it was like the numbers were just through the roof. I mean, it was like parabolic, and so you had a lot of people that kind of were like onboarded to that release or that distribution, and the distribution kind of didn't fully function the way he had hoped. But I'll go into a little bit further on how that's developed. OBS renamed to Open Build Service. So openSUSE Build Service became Open Build Service. That's been useful, and really kind of like trying to do it like you can build packages for other Linux distributions on it. And this is pretty important. And it just shows the whole, like openSUSE as a project has always been about the movement of open source, right? And so that's kind of where we've been. And then we had the first open QA release, which is, you know, just the quality assurance aspect. That has been a key to like how Tumbleweed developed later on, right? We just had the pieces. It was putting those pieces together, which kind of like came later, right? So in 2012, that's when we kind of started getting more ARM support coming into the project. And so that kind of developed from there. We could thank Andy and a few other people who were very interested in that, to drive that forward. And then going on to 2013, not many people know this, but so a lot of translations that are done in various open source projects actually started from a Hack Week project from openSUSE. And this is what has become Weblate. And it's used across the space, the open source space, as well as like other companies using it. It's just basically a way to do translations. And so, again, a lot of inspiration, a lot of innovation happening in these times. And it was all through like people coming together, being in the same room, discussing problems, finding solutions, proposing things. You put it on the table and just see where it goes, right? So this was a Hack Week project, a hacking project that happened. I actually sat in that old office there. And then we moved into sort of a transitional period, right? So in 2013, we had traditional releases, right? So they were no longer called, well, it wasn't called SUSE 10.0. They transitioned to something else, and then like openSUSE officially had the community name. And like 11, we got to 13, and things kind of shifted. And when they did shift, it was mainly Tumbleweed that kind of like shifted that environment. Oh, that's a shame. So anyway, what happened was with at least with Tumbleweed development, and you could think about this with other rolling releases, one of the key things is you have to be able to update like one package, kind of like how Greg KH had with the kernel. You have to be able to upgrade all the packages at once, and that was sort of a key thing. And that's where we kind of like figured out all these different solutions with OpenQA, like how to create a structure that will work and function so that things could be upgraded in a rolling way, in a useful way, in a tested way. You know, we say it's cutting edge, but it's tested cutting edge, right? And so that really transitioned us to being able to move faster. And so factory is where all the sources are for you know, whatever package someone's building with open build service. But then like Tumbleweed is a snapshot and a functioning snapshot of that release, right? So my awe was this picture didn't show up, but so it was the first openSUSE.Asia summit, and this was done in Beijing. And Sunny, I don't know if she's here. I haven't seen her yet, but you know, this was very inspirational, and this kind of was like why we're here today, right? It took one person to start that off. So then we go into 2014. You know, we were moving on. This picture is kind of very meaningful. Friend of mine, part of the project. He was not able to be there, but I saw this picture, 20-year reunion, have people like sending in photos and sharing them. And then I wrote him, I said, oh, I didn't realize this picture was for you, right? And this is in Dubrovnik. It's really cool. So moving on. This is where kind of we had a transition with Leap. So the naming came from Rainer Fiebig. But this is kind of what saying earlier, any contribution can come from anywhere. You don't have to like be able to code. You know, you could do marketing, you could do advocating at events and things like that. And that's kind of like what Rainer did. And it was a really like, there was a long thread about like how we were going to move and transition to something, because openSUSE was able to build with source code from SUSE Linux Enterprise. So they like contributed that, and we needed to come up with something. And so he proposed Leap, and we've been going forward since that time. So the photos did not work out. All right, they were definitely a key for me to remember where they were at. Right? So 2015, this was done in Taipei. And so This was a mixture between, I want to call it, no, that was the first one. It was done in Taipei. And so you can see, at least I'll point out, year 2, you had a design for the logo, right? So that has remained key within the project itself. Now, 2015, we'll say, well, that didn't really, that picture, I don't know what that picture is, but it didn't come through. But this is when we actually moved back to Nuremberg. So we started off in Nuremberg doing the conference, and we moved back to Nuremberg at this point. We've kind of had it there ever since, with an occasional break with having it in Prague, you know. But mostly it's about fun. It's getting people together, and that's kind of where, you know, solutions can get solved. 2016, this was done in Jakarta. You know, very, very similar, where we're getting people from the university and getting them exposed to open source, what its purpose is, and how you could drive it forward. 2017, it was done in Tokyo. 2018, it was done in Taipei. Now with this one, this was done with GNOME Asia Summit, which is taking place pretty soon here. And that's also going to happen. No, that's going to happen in Tokyo this year. But, you know, usually these, sometimes like our Asia Summit aligns with that. When we were in Bali, it also aligned as well. So very, very important. And so if you're going to go to one of these, think about that, because you can give a talk there. So now we get to the next point, and this is sort of a transition, right? I mean, you had Docker out for quite a long time, right? But really, this is where the container aspect really started to shift for at least the operating systems. And so some key things that were developed around there, you had Leap do this, shall we call, just sort of a proof of concept. And that's what that was what Leap Jump, well, we'll say it was called openSUSE Leap, or sorry, openSUSE Jump, but that was kind of like what we were looking at. And so going to 15, like we are currently today still on 15, it's 2008, right? 2018, right? And so this is the last major release for the 15 series for openSUSE Leap. Just put in some fireworks stuff. With Kubernetes, that's what openSUSE Cubic was done about. And then you also had the introduction of MicroOS, which is a transactional update operating system, meant mostly for containers, right? Going back to another openSUSE.Asia Summit, like this one was done in Bali. A lot of the times you'll end up with the openSUSE.Asia Summit because it's run by the committee itself. So like they will get together and they'll determine like, you know, where the next openSUSE.Asia Summit will be. And it's contained specifically to them, like the openSUSE board just kind of, you know, sits off to the side, and then they go, we want to do this, and what can we, you know, like, do we have your approval? And occasionally, like, someone from the board will come and give a keynote. This year, I guess that's me, but I'm not on the board anymore. So, in 2020, though, this is kind of where things really shifted, and this is where you get the, I guess that's what I was closing the leap gap, you know. So you had source code, and that's where we got Leap from. That's how it was kind of built, right? But then you start moving toward like binary compatibility, which is makes it just streamline any sort of migration, right? To say, shall we say, like the enterprise version. So anyway, that's what Jump was, and then we did finally achieve that with 15.3, right? And currently, right now, we're on 15.6. Again, that's the last one, and that's where the binary and source compatibility came in. And you know, it's a good model for SUSE as well. Now, with the openSUSE.Asia Summit, I don't know if you remember where you were those years between 20 and 21, but you know, we weren't able to get together, but we were online, so that was always good. And so we did have the openSUSE.Asia Summit done here, and so thankful. This is kind of like, again, one of the rocks that was supporting to keep the openSUSE Summit going, and it was done online, but thankfully we're here today. You know, it's like the first time, so I am happy to make it here, and you know, yes. So, moving on, 2022, Cubic was retired, so the Kubernetes aspect of that was retired, and it kind of shifted along into well, you had the introduction of Leap Micro, which is container host, and then that kind of continues on, and that if you're interested in running containers and you don't want a graphical environment, like you can look at Leap Micro. And then also like other innovations that kind of happened or take place, as we had MRIIRS, which is basically a subset of Tumbleweed rolling, you ended up like getting these transactional operating systems that are graphical, right? So GNOME is the Aeon version, and that's the one on your left, and then KDE Plasma, and that's the one on the right. But you know, the logos that were developed there, really cool. Especially the KDE Plasma one, the Kalpa, it's called Kalpa. I think that's fantastic. It fits in so well with the mixture between MicroOS, transactional update, and KDE's wheel, right? Going to last year's openSUSE.Asia Summit, I was also able to be there with a few other of the speakers. And we had done this in Japan. It was very, very great. It was like in a nice high-rise next to the Tokyo Tower, so super cool. Again, distributions also like still advancing, and this you get slow roll. And slow roll is a slower rolling release, and you basically you're getting newer packages, but like 2 weeks delayed behind openSUSE Tumbleweed. And that's beneficial. You know, some people see the use case for it, others don't. But again, like openSUSE project itself is developing with the various distributions, and we have and flavors. I'm gonna call flavors too, right? So, and then this past year we had the openSUSE conference in Nuremberg again. That was great. Fortunately, like some of the speakers that were here were not able to make it, but we do have some that have been there. So, and they're going to be giving same or similar talks, or even updated talks. And so, right now, like 20 years later, like what has openSUSE been like? It's really been a mixture of distributions and flavors, tools, and the innovation to help the technology develop, right? And so that's why we're here today. Like, at least that's why I'm here, explaining the 20 years of openSUSE. So give it up. You know, it's been a lot of people. A lot of people over the years have made this happen. And so the path forward, well, we won't take the path forward. We do have a quiz, though, and would like for you to participate. You could scan the QR code. There's some prizes that could be won. And so please go ahead and do that. There's a gentleman here. He could stand up in the green shirt, Lubosh.
So 60 shirts.
6 T-shirts.
Damn. All right.
Yeah. You could come see me or find him. Also got some a couple branded Rubik's Cubes with that as well. So then going forward, right now where we're at, we're planning for the future with Leap 16. Lubosh is the release manager for that, so like, you got any issues, come see that guy. And, you know, in ending, like the future, it's you, right? It's the community that's gonna make it go forward. It's people in the audience, people a part of the open source projects that are gonna drive innovation forward. And if you look at like over the years, we've kind of had some different innovation periods, right? We've had consolidation where, okay, let's see where we're at. And so this is kind of like the next innovation is gonna come from you, and it's gonna come from the community. So keep that in mind, like you're all sitting here, and you are the future of the next development. So I wanna thank you, I wanna thank the organizers, and appreciate everything you've done here, and looking forward to continuing this and see how the rest of the conference goes. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please give it up for him, ladies and gentlemen. Sir, there's a small, I know it's going to be a shameless plug, but I have to do it. So are you guys enjoying the suit that I'm wearing? Is it good enough? So, sir, as you're giving, should be green. Tomorrow it's green. Don't worry about it. I usually do this work. I am a tailor. So that's why. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for everyone who has taken part. Give it up for openSUSE, ladies and gentlemen. And now I request all our dignitaries, all our speakers to come up on stage for a group photograph. Even my team that is standing over there, all my discipline team, please come up on stage for a group photograph. Sir, I would like you to stay over here because of the group photograph, obviously. And yes, sir, obviously. Even you are required to come up on stage. Yeah, everyone. Yeah, everyone from the team, please. I require you all to please come up on stage. Let's have
Check. Hello.
Let's capture this moment. And I hope everyone is photogenic. No one is, no one is very resistant to flash. Yeah, speakers too, sir. Everyone who is my team and my speakers
All
and
the
my
students, please align with the stage.
yeah, everyone who wants to come, hopefully. Yes, ma'am. All the students as well. Yeah, all the students, please come over here and get seated very quickly. बस ज़्यादा नहीं होंगे, यहाँ तक भरेंगे बस. ज़्यादा नहीं आएंगे. Sorry, ma'am. Yeah.
Maybe we take the photo the other way around into that direction.
Sir, that also might work, but sir, we have to have this openSUSE.Asia Summit 2025. That's why we are kind of going for the backdrop. Sir, you guys should come up in the photos, sir. We guys are expendable. You guys